You're not a boring person, you're just not curious enough. Most of us are bored. We do things like pulling out our phones and scrolling through social media, not because we actually want to do those things, but because we're bored. There's a big problem here because behind that boredom, there's something deeper. There's a lack of curiosity. So here's how to fix it. So many people, they think they've already done it all. We've already figured out what's all to be figured out. Why try something new? What's the point? Even if you want to watch something on TV, you're going through the options saying, oh, I've already kind of watched something like that. I kind of get the gist. But that's what keeps you stuck. That's what keeps you not only feeling bored, but also makes you boring as a person. Think of any time you've went into a social situation. You'd probably think that the most interesting person is the one who has the most interesting life, but that's not necessarily true. In fact, the one that you probably like talking to the most is the one who's curious the most curious about you. So if you want to be more interesting to other people, the first thing you need to start doing is being more curious about them. And on the flip side, if you also want life to feel more interesting, you need to be more curious about life. So then the question is, how do you be more curious about life or other people, even if you genuinely don't feel that way right now? Well, we need to get rid of that mindset that we were just talking about of the, I already know it all, I already figured it all out, because not only is that the one thing that's holding you back from seeing the colors and magic in life, but it's also false. You don't know all there is. It's the ego that kind of, sees patterns and says, oh, I kind of figured this out. You look at this wall behind me, right? And you probably think, oh, that's just a wall. But really, behind it is a whole lot more. The paint was sourced by someone, and there was materials that were gathered from the earth to create that paint. The wall itself, even that, had to be crafted by someone that not only had to create those materials and develop it, but also had to have the ingenuity to put it all together. And that's just contemplating the wall. You look at the same thing every day, and you think that you know all there is to know about it, but really, that's just your mind making it feel boring. Think of yourself as an explorer of life. An explorer doesn't just look at one tiny area and think, oh, the rest of the world is like this, so you know what, I'm just gonna pull out my phone and distract myself with something. No, they wanna keep on pushing and seeing what's out there in real life, damn it. So what if you were like an explorer in social situations? How much more interesting would it be to actually get to know someone? Even if there's someone like your spouse or family member, what if you actually got to know them on a level that you don't know about? What if you spend your free time differently today than you do every single day? You try something new, you try a hobby just for the sake of curiosity. What happens? Well, here's the weird thing. Even if you try something and it really doesn't work for you, just because you tried something new, it still feels good. This one time I remember I first moved to Finland and I had no friends, I had no hobbies. I was just playing ice hockey there, so I had that, but apart from that, I was just in this foreign place. Nobody knew who I was, and I couldn't speak the language. So I'm like, how the heck do I make friends? So I just started finding all these weird events and going to them. I went to some club, which was people trying to do public speaking. And you know what? It was the most boring thing in the world. I can't even believe I showed up to it, but I felt so happy I did afterwards because it was just the adrenaline of trying something new. Another thing I remember saying was this Kundalini yoga class, and it piqued my curiosity. I didn't know anything about it, and I thought, what's the harm in trying? So I showed up to the class. It was pretty much a cult. Like, it was so weird and uncomfortable. The energy was terrible in the room, and we were doing yoga practices that I don't even know if they would really be considered yoga practices. Yeah, that was a weird time. But the point is even though all these things, they didn't work out, they did work out in entertaining me because I got real life experience. Could you imagine if instead of doing all that silly stuff, I just sat at home and I thought, what's the point? I doubt this stuff is gonna work for me anyway. And maybe there's truth to that. But what you need to understand is it's not about the event. That's not what it's about. You don't play the musical instrument because you want to get better at it. You get it for the experience. It's the journey, it's the adventure, all of this. So again, you do not know everything. You are not God. You do not know what's going to work for you, but that's the best part. You keep going through experiences over and over again and creating them. If you're bored, find new experiences to become curious about. Boring people are often bored. It's the last thing I'm going to leave you with. There's a quote I heard once, and it really changed the way I saw things. Boredom really originates from inside by your own choices. Of course, if you're stuck in a classroom and you're forced to learn the same boring stuff over and over again every single day, anyone's gonna feel bored. That's a normal human reaction. But when we actually have our free will and our free choices to spend our free time or what we wanna do in the day, but we just can't come up with anything and we allow that to paralyze ourselves, it's no surprise that you're gonna feel bored. Curiosity is the only antidote to your boredom. And the only way to fulfill and satisfy that curiosity is through experiencing. Experiencing doesn't mean that you're gonna figure it out always. It doesn't mean that you're always gonna end up with a positive experience. But what experience means is that the adventure makes it always worth it. All right, friends, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. It's a completely new style of video that I tried making today, so definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments. And this whole concept is something I already covered on my email newsletter. Make sure you join it in the description. It's completely free. Yeah, subscribe for more. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.